Well, I hope you guys read the whole promise with Jonathan and David, because I didn't read that part. I only skimmed through all of
know the story.
Mephibosheth.
Welcome to the Three Abecedarians.
We need a nickname for Mephibosheth.
My name is Matt.
Let's call him Maccabees.
That is Jordan, and
Chef
this
Macadamia.
is Brian, who cannot
Macadamia.
pronounce the topic of today's episode. Before we begin, I would like to encourage you guys to like, subscribe, share, comment on our videos. It really helps when you guys participate, because it tells us that you are participating. And it tells other people that we're worth their time.
It also is
so
fun.
lie to your friends for
it's
us.
Fun.
It
we
is
have
fun.
fun doing these, whether we
fun.
get 4 views or 40. But it is nice when someone comments, is like, hey, I was here.
Yeah. You know what? I do have a comment from my wife. These videos are too long.
I agree.
So let's
I've been telling
let's
Matt
wrap
that
it up,
for a
guys.
long time.
Well, we're done.
So,
I've never liked
pronounce
anything.
this name?
So this is why the videos are so long.
Methuselah?
Mephibosheth.
Methuselah.
Mephibosheth.
All right,
If
so
you feel
Mephibosheth-
like you're saying it wrong, you're saying it right.
So I guess Methuselah is
that works.
Jonathan's
call him
son, and he is King Saul's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so David and, for those that don't know, spoiler alert, David and Jonathan are best friends. All right, they are really close. They have a good relationship, and David is a servant of King Saul. However, King Saul recognizes that David is going to someday be the king of Israel.
Usurping.
He's going to overthrow him. Yeah, usurping.
He's the better man.
He's the better man. So Saul starts plotting
Plotting
against David to kill
Saul's
him.
everywhere.
I'm trying here, guys. I'm trying. Saul starts
talking.
plotting against David to kill him. Anyway, David goes to Jonathan, who Jonathan is King Saul's son, and says, Jonathan, your father is trying to kill me. And Jonathan says, let's do this, which I think is hilarious. You run off to the field. Wait, no, David says, I'm going to go hide in the field. And then you go to dinner with your father, who is expecting me to be there. And if your father is upset that I don't show up, you come out, shoot 3 arrows. It's like 3 arrows.
Yeah.
And then tell your servant, either like, behold.
Yeah, go out and
Go
to get
further.
the arrows.
Yeah.
If Jonathan tells the servant
They're beyond
that
you.
they're to the side or whatever, then that means I think
He's safe.
He's safe. But if he tells the servant, no, the arrows are farther out, then David will know that it's not safe and that the king is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And if David's standing in the wrong spot and he gets hit with an arrow,
Long story short, it's already long, but let's make it short. Saul gets upset that David's not there.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part in the story I'll share now is it says King Saul then took his spear and tried to throw it at his son. Then the next verse says, and then Jonathan got up out of his chair and left the palace. So like King Saul was such a bad aim. Jonathan didn't even run. Like he just knew his dad was like so bad. He threw the spear as Jonathan's sitting there, and Jonathan's like, Dad, you're overreacting.
You're a
Gets up
jerk,
and
Dad.
walks away. Now we get to Methuselah.
the pact with David and Jonathan, right? That's the end of that. The end of that
True,
part
I
of the story.
should share
yeah,
the-
that's
I
what
should
you were
share
working up
the
to that
most-
part, right? That was the.
Yeah, I was working up
I'll
to
let you
that
get
part.
to the end of the. Yeah.
How about if I do it? So when Jonathan and David, they finally meet and they're kind of acknowledging that, look, we're on different sides of this disagreement, and it's awkward and unpleasant because we are like historically good friends, the best
You should look
friends
it up if you don't
in the
know.
Bible. I mean, they're closer than brothers. They have
So
this
they have a
pact that no matter what happens, they are going to honor and love each other as faithful friends. And should one of them die, their pact basically includes their family. So David says, Jonathan, if I die, please extend your promise of love and faithfulness to my family, and I will do the same to your family should you die. And tragically, Jonathan does die. He, in this great overhaul of the kingdom, the king is killed, his sons are killed, Jonathan among them, and David is heartbroken, but he's also been called by God to be the king of the Israelites, and so he has a job to do. So that's what he pursues. Fast forward many, many years, he is in a seat of power, things are pretty chill, and he remembers this promise that he made to his very closest friend, Jonathan. So
Anyway.
So the interesting thing is Bo, as I'm calling him because I can't say the whole word. So
Methuselah.
Bo,
Mephibosheth.
Bo, whatever. Bo was 5 years old when Saul and Jonathan died. So he was little. And so the story is that then his nurse, nanny, caretaker,
yeah.
whatever, was
Midwife.
fleeing, because what happens is when the king died, when Saul and Jonathan died, I think everybody in the family knew, okay, so what happens when a new king comes in is he wipes out the family of the old king.
Right.
So this caretaker knows, okay, now that Saul is dead, David is going to come in and like wipe everybody out, because that's what new kings do. So she's going to run with Bo, and she trips and falls, and then
Breaks his legs.
somehow Bo is now lame in both feet, which is interesting. I think almost every time that Bo is mentioned, the last word that is said is, oh, and he was lame in both feet.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's a very important part of this whole story. I don't necessarily know why. The interesting thing is, so before Mephibosheth, David goes out and he does like go after the rest of Saul's family. He kills off the other people who are trying to take power, because it's Saul's descendants, some of Saul's sons or whatever are trying to take power, and so David dispenses with them. So David says, hey, is there anybody left alive who, in Jonathan's family?
Yeah, I made this promise, and I would like to fulfill the promise.
So his servants go out and try to find somebody, and they say, hey, this Ziba guy knows of one. So Ziba comes in, they find Mephibosheth, they find Bo, and he comes in, and David said, I'm sure he's afraid, like seriously.
Oh yeah.
He's like the last one.
He's like, I've managed to live like 20 years.
Yeah, and he's got I think he's got a kid at this point. He's got a son at this point.
A young son named Micah.
Right. So, but he has to come in because the king summons you.
Right.
So he's probably thinking, I'm going to die. And then David brings him in and says, I had this promise with your father. Now you get to come and eat at the king's table all the time, and I'm giving you back all of the land that your grandfather or that belonged to your father and your grandfather, and I guess welcome home or something.
It's a huge, a completely unheard of gesture of kindness and generosity, and it's one of the earliest moments of like purely Christ-like love that we see in the Bible, and God kind of highlights it as like, hey, here's a moment, here's something to emulate, here's the way to be. David was kind, and he was generous. And Jordan, I hate you so much.
I've got my modern context.
Good. Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, no, Matt, you're stupid, and someone should break your legs.
What?
I
feel like you have a very dark mind.
You have two looks. You have vague and vacant, and you have judgmental. And I was getting judgmental. That's what I was feeling from you.
You were getting love.
That's not one of your looks.
I don't have. Modern context.
Modern context.
You know what I was thinking of? What's that movie of where like the dude goes back to like the past, the present, the future?
Back to the Future?
No, it's a Christmas movie.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay, sure. And you've got the little boy that's paralyzed. What's his name? Thomas.
Oh, you're talking about
Little
Christmas
Tim?
Carol.
Little Tim.
Ebenezer Scrooge, Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim. And then they share a meal at the end, and Ebenezer, like the Scrooge, so he comes in and he looks out for the family. That's what I was thinking.
The Cratchits. He invites them to dinner, and he knows he's been. Yeah. It's not like that at all.
But this is the judgmental face now. Compared to the modern context crap that we try to associate every week, I feel like that's at least a 4.
All right, that's fine. We'll go with it. I'll let you have it.
Hey.
Sorting Matt?
Sorting Matt.
Okay, Mephibosheth, Hufflepuff. Because he knew his life was in danger, but he still was loyal to the king. Maybe it was also like, I'm going to run away. I'm crippling both feet. It says in every freaking verse about me. So maybe he just was like reading the terrain. Although, let's just go ahead and say he was in Hufflepuff. Ziba, though, total Slytherin.
So David is coming back from fighting or whatever, and Ziba is all of a sudden there with a bunch of donkeys and wine and food. And David's like, why'd you bring all that? I know. Why'd you bring all this stuff? Where's your master's grandson? And then Ziba says, he's staying in Jerusalem because he thinks today the Israelites will restore to me my grandfather's kingdom. So he kind of like...
Ziba threw Mephibosheth under the bus.
And then so then David says, you know what? You can have all Bo's stuff. You can have all of his stuff, all of his land. It's all yours now because he is betraying me. Because later what happens is Bo then, after all this happens, goes back to David and says, Ziba betrayed me. That's not true. And so then David gets frustrated. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you guys just split all this stuff? Whatever. Yeah. And then Bo says, no, you know what? Give him all the stuff. I'm just happy that you're back safely because I'm loyal to you.
Yeah, which is more evidence to him being a Hufflepuff.
The loyalty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because he doesn't even want to. And you know what? The interesting thing is it doesn't say that the king actually gives him back the stuff anyway. So he says, potentially, are we still filming? Should I stop talking now?
Yes.
I don't know.